Violence isn't new when it comes to the Hells Angels, but let's get a few things straight. They have their own fundamentals to follow, which they respect the most. Listen to what one of them has to say about it. We'll get to more about his life. Stay tuned.
We simply try to suppress the situation in order to go through a normal daily routine.
We'll get to the person behind this modulated voice, but hold on until we tell you what this video is about. It's a fact that Hells Angels have been very active in Hanover, Germany. Now let's speak about a few of the major members of Hells Angels and the extent to which they have crept into society to baffle up the system and showcase their hold on society.
So I signed up at a little gym. There was two guys in there, and they were involved in a motorcycle club called the Hells Henchmen, which we ended up, that group became the Hells Angels. We started the first chapter in the Midwest. Chicago was through us.
We'll speak about three major members whose profiles will definitely instill some fear about them in your hearts. And if you want to learn more about them, just leave us a comment and we'll get chopping on it. This is CrimeFlicks, your #1 stop for crime stories. Let's start with the first most feared Hells Angel, Frank Hanneboot. Based on a recent news article published by Sky News, Frank Hanneboot, a former boxer and former Hells Angels leader, appeared along with 49 other collaborators in front of the Spanish court. The allegations being put upon them were related to his membership with a few major criminal organizations, money laundering, and illegal possession of firearms. It is said that he is certainly on road to face 13 years of his life in prison for allegedly running the motorcycle club linked with organized crime on the Spanish island Majorca. He is known to dominate the nightlife districts and has a great hold within the upper middle class in and around Hanover, Germany. He has become the connection between the underworld and the bourgeoisie, the middle class. As a matter of fact, Frank's marriage, which took place in 2017, was celebrated in no less fashion than a folk festival by the region. His area of business extends from numerous pubs all the way to brothels and sports studios. His profession is not fixed to a single line, considering he has a wide variety of parallel businesses. When we think about the fact that he has become the best man of Gerhard Schroeder, the former Chancellor of Germany, it becomes clear that he has quite deep roots within German politics as well. The night parties being hosted by his gang became a mere lookout duty, with no power in the hands of the police. Their only responsibility was to be there. Most powers were in the hands of the gang, being led by Frank. Hanneboot was stuck in a sandwich when the conflict between the Banditos and Hells Angels ignited. The conflict was to gain dominance around certain territories, and both sides were pretty much dead struck not to give up. After immense bloodshed and destruction, seen for the first time in 2007, the investigators took a keen interest in what was happening among them. One of the reasons was that they started hiring many young men, which also proved to be one of the greatest mistakes he could ever commit. One of the young men, Stefan R., in an attempt to get his sentence reduced for human trafficking, gave up on crucial information. He testified as a key witness. The allegations against him were about the torturing and brutal execution of a Turkish citizen. However, when confronted, this is what Frank stated.
Certainly not. That's a made-up story. That's a made-up story.
While Frank had always been ready to own up to any problems he created, the officials stated he was unreliable. It was in 2013 that he made his move from Hanover to Majorca in Spain. His idea was to start fresh with a new professional foothold. Well, as we go through the article we just read earlier, it was surely not the case. Next up, we have the second most feared Hells Angel of this video. He emerged amidst the war between the Hells Angels and the Outlaws as both sides tried to gain control over important provinces of the drug trade. The war ended in very bad numbers as many civilians, unaware of the cause of the violence, lost their lives, and many others were gravely injured. As far as the gangs were considered, it was found that the Outlaws lost 23 of their men, where 18 were killed by one man alone. His name was Yves Apache Trudeau. We referred to him as Apache for the rest of this video. He was an assassin for the Hells Angels, and it was said that he had no respect, consciousness, or sympathy toward human life. He was not afraid of trying various methods to kill an individual, which made him one of the most feared men in the Hells Angels. Despite having hands-on experience with almost all kinds of murders, his preferred way of executing was using explosives, irrespective of his being around the target. But none of this forms the reason for his nickname Apache. The reason for that was his infamous killing by scalping. That is the level of brutality he was ready to inflict upon his enemies. Though he was totally dedicated to the Hells Angels, by the end it was almost like he was betrayed by his brothers, but saved due to his own instincts and paranoia. It all started in Quebec, during the Great Darkness when it was governed by the National Union, known for being very conservative in its work. They were accused of imposing their Catholic and traditionalistic views throughout their territory. Their reign continued until 1960, where the Quebec Liberals defeated them. By 1968, there were almost 350 outlaw motorcycle gangs within Quebec. So what do you guys think about this video? Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications whenever new crime-related videos are posted. Moving on. A lot of gang-related violence started taking place, which had a direct impact on the death toll. The crime reporters had a very busy schedule due to the intensity of the activities going on just within Quebec. One of these gangs was the Popeyes Motor Club. Apache was just 22 years old when he joined the club. They were based in Montreal, with hands into almost all the criminal activities within their territory. The gang became one of the area's biggest gangs, gaining a lot of reputation and instilling a lot of fear in the minds of the locals. They became the center of attention from the civilians, other local gangs, even the Hells Angels, the Outlaws, who planned to expand into Canada, and Satan's Choice, the largest biker gang in Canada. Satan's Choice got support from the Outlaws, putting them into direct competition with Popeyes. This led to major battles between the two major gangs, with Apache holding his position as Popeye's chief assassin. He was able to murder many of Satan's Choice's members. When the matter worsened, Satan officially joined the Outlaws in 1977. On the other hand, the Hells Angels convinced Popeyes to join them and represent them in Canada. Apache was one of the founding members of this gang. The matter continued to heat up and was finally ignited to full swing when Apache went on to shoot at two of the Outlaw members outside a bar that was controlled and protected by Hells Angels. Apache did not stop there. He went on to assassinate the president of the Outlaws in Montreal. He did this by planting a bomb underneath his car. This was followed by another murder committed by him of another leader of the Outlaws by simply knocking on his door and shooting him in the head as the leader answered. As Popeyes and the Angels joined hands to form the Hells Angels, matters started to heat up quite badly. This brings us to the third and last most feared Hells Angels on our list, Maurice Boucher. Maurice Boucher was the former president of the Hells Angels and one of the most feared Hells Angels members ever. His life in crime was heinous, and his involvement was majorly noticed in a few of the worst crimes we have ever heard of. One of the first was when he raped a 16-year-old girl by holding a gun to her face, blackmailing her into complying. After completing his term in prison, he climbed up the ranks, as many members were behind bars in the gang, to become a full member on the 1st of May, 1987, after the death of Martin Huno, the head of the outlaw biker gang. He then bombed the Outlaws gang clubhouse, making him famous in the underworld. By the early 1990s, he became the province's most powerful gang leader, who paved his path further to becoming the president much later. He also formed the Rockers in 1992, which was a puppet club for the Hells Angels in Montreal. The Rockers were then responsible for a lot of murders that took place in the area. The terror induced by these three Hells Angels members has been incomparable. The atrocities have raised goosebumps even for the most experienced criminal investigators as they dug deep into the number and manner of the murders they committed in a short time. The terror inflicted on innocent civilians in all the territories they have been to showcases their cruel nature and the threat they can pose to society. And that marks the end of this video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to CrimeFlicks. Bye!